Here in Anchorage, Alaska, once again, downtown near a place called Ship Creek. Huge king salmon come in there and have a restaurant built over the river. Really cool area. But in front of Ship Creek, it's kind of a location that I have kind of a history with. That it's not a very good history, kind of a sad story, kind of something I'm not that excited about telling, but it's something I need to remind myself of. As we see a bush plane going out, probably taking some fishermen out to a remote stream someplace, get away from the crowds. Anyway, I'm down here next to a situation, next to a location called the Alaska Railroad. And the Alaska Railroad connects Anchorage, Palmer, Wasilla, goes all the way up through Denali, Mount McKinley, all the way up to Fairbanks. And this Alaska Railroad has been a way of connecting the central part of Alaska to one another for a long, long time. And so just wanted to show you this and kind of bring back the memory of a story that I'm not too proud to tell, but it's a part of my past, and I need to tell it to myself and maybe others to kind of warn them a little bit. To preface my remarks, I just want to say, isn't it amazing sometimes? Isn't it amazing sometimes the things that we'll do, the lengths that we'll go to save $1 or make $1? You know, and so as I'm down here in front of the Alaska Railroad, kind of a story in my life about the lengths that I'll go to save $1, to save a few bucks, when in fact, when I do that, it's jeopardizing the kind of mental stability and the well-being of those entrusted to my care. So many years ago, we were going to take the Alaska Railroad. We're going to take it all in the southern route instead of up to Denali and Fairbanks. We're going to go south, go on down to Seward, and then catch the Tustamena, which is a 250-foot ferry boat over to Kodiak. And so we had it all planned out, and we were staying in some accommodations here. And I said, you know, why don't I drive you over with the car and then, you know, drop you off, go back. You know, then we don't have to take a cab, 2 cabs, because there was, you know, several of us in the family at that time, and might have to take 2 cabs with a double fare. And so why don't I just drive you over, drop you off at the Alaska Railroad, you wait for me, I'll go back and catch a cab, then I'll cut it in half and I'll save 10 bucks. I was thinking to myself, I'll save $10. Well, sure enough, I came over, dropped him off, as my wife looked at me saying, probably thinking to herself, what? But anyway, she said, okay. And so they all came down here to the railroad and waited for the train, the big blue and gold Alaska Railroad train, to show up. So sure enough, as trains do, it showed up on time, but I'm still over at the accommodations waiting on a cab. And I'm waiting on the cab and waiting on the cab, and it's not coming. The train, sure enough, pulls into the station, starts to unload all the people, and the purser, the railroad person that's greeting everyone, said, ma'am, this train's gonna leave on time. Are you ready to go? So they load up all their luggage, and they're about ready to board, and my wife's sitting there. I don't have my husband there. I'm over at the accommodations waiting for a cab to save $10. Sure enough, I call another cab company, call the other one, and just say, and then the guy shows up. I say, you need to get me over here to the Alaska Railroad as quick as possible. They come over here. Meanwhile, my wife is there. They're on the train, and then they start to get off the train. They can't leave me, so they're on the train. They're getting off the train. I pull into the parking lot, pay the guy, run to the railroad. Meanwhile, my oldest daughter, Emily, Joe, Max, Abby, Jared, they're all looking and saying, why did he just do this? And then we get onto the train, sit down, and rather than being there early, paid an extra $10 in our seats, getting ready for a spectacular ride, which it was, now we're stressed. Now we're just hearts fluttering and just not a good start to a spectacular trip. But the point is this. And the question is, what are we willing to do to make a buck and to save $1 that puts our own well-being and the well-being of others in harm's way? So it really kind of comes down to this, is denying ourselves, isn't it? Being willing to give, being willing to take the hit for the benefit of others. Remember, the Lord loves a happy giver. Loosen up those purse strings. And I need to hear this myself as I still struggle with trying to save $1 and not seeing the big picture. And it really comes down to this verse, doesn't it? In Luke chapter 9, verse 23, Jesus speaking. If anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross daily, and follow me. And so when we get those three things together, when we first of all deny ourselves and our tendencies that we have, whether it's being a tightwad, saving $1, not giving or striving after the dollar so much, the things we'll want to do, deny ourselves, take up our cross, the daily teaching of Jesus, the burden of following his way, carrying his label of a believer and following him, then things will go a little bit better, won't they? Not necessarily removed from all persecution, all trials. No, Lord allows us to walk into those for our betterment, for our good. But there's some things we stumble right into because of our self-centered ways that we have that I still struggle with this to this day. So I challenge you this day. Are you wanting to save $1, $10, and put your family in jeopardy and have the memory of the Alaska Railroad, that one part of our memory now? Or are you willing to be a cheerful giver, pay what you need to do, take the hit, and just so everyone's protected and taken care of? All right, you guys, always good to talk with you. Look forward to seeing you. I love you all, and we'll see you around. Take care. Bye-bye.